Hey guys, what's up? MiataMods here, and today I'm going to install frame rails from Jass Performance. Installing frame rails has three major benefits. 1. It provides protection for your chassis rails, which comes in handy if you would to lower your car. 2. It improves the stiffness of the chassis, and 3. It provides additional jacking points. You may wonder why I picked the frame rails from Jass Performance. I got another set of frame rails so we can compare them. Both frame rails are from stainless steel, but the Jass Performance frame rails have a polished finish. Both frame rails come with stainless steel mounting hardware, but Jass Performance also provides new stainless steel hardline brackets. I like the fact that you can still use the stock location for the hardline brackets. With some frame rails, the mounting points for the brackets are on top of the frame rail, which gives you less ground clearance and the hardlines are closer to the ground. There's also a difference in structure. The sidewalls are essential as they carry the weight and provide stiffness to the structure. Some frame rails, however, have cutouts in the sidewalls and that can weaken the structure. As you can see, both frame rails have no cutouts in the sidewalls, so that's a good thing. Now, most frame rails are shaped like this one, but the frame rails from Jass Performance have a unique feature that no other frame rails have: this additional sidewall. It makes the structure of the frame rail stronger without adding a lot of weight. The Jass Performance frame rails weigh 7.1 kg, are 109.5 cm long and are 2 mm thick. The other frame rails are also 7.1 kg, are 109 cm long and are also 2 mm thick. The supplied hardware from Jass Performance weighs 696 grams. The supplied hardware from the other frame rails weigh 858 grams. I chose the Jass Performance frame rails because of the following: stainless steel frame with polished finished and stainless steel mounting hardware, new stainless steel hardline brackets that can be mounted on the stock location, solid sidewalls with the additional sidewall, a lot of mounting points to maximize the support strength. Enough about the frame rails. Let's install them on the car. Start by removing the two front seats. Remove the two 40mm bolts in the front and then two in the rear. Don't forget to disconnect the wire harness if you have wires running to the seats. The next step is removing the door seal plates on both sides. You can do that by removing these screws with a Phillips head screwdriver. Use an ice cube tray to keep track of your screws and bolts. I'm now going to take out the floor mats. And my steering wheel, like so, but this step is of course not necessary. After that we can remove the lower seat belt mounts. That is one 16mm bolt on each side. On the driver's side we also need to remove the footrest pedal, and that is held in by these two 10mm nuts. There's a small plastic clip holding the carpet down between the two front seat rail bolts. This can be popped out using an old fork. Like so. Now that everything is removed, we can pull up the carpet from both sides. But before I'm going to do that, I'm going to clean the car with a vacuum cleaner. Now that the carpet is clean, we can pull up the carpet. Start on this side and then pull it towards the middle. I'm going to do this on the other side as well and use some zip ties to connect them together so it doesn't fall down. Alright, this is the end result, and as you can see I used a lot of zip ties to keep the two parts of the carpet together, and also to keep this sound deadening stuff from falling down. So I used the zip tie as well. And why do you need to do this? Well, when you're going to drill for the frame rails, you're going to drill upwards, and if your carpet isn't moved out of the way, you will hit the carpet and you will create a hole in your carpet, and you don't want that. So make sure that on both sides the carpet is pulled away enough so you can't hit it with a drill bit. I have a 93 Miata, so my ECU is positioned over there. If you have a 94 Miata or younger, your ECU is positioned right behind the passenger seat. I would recommend moving the ECU out of the way so you can't hit the ECU or the wiring when you are drilling the holes from the bottom. Alright, the next step is jacking the car up. First, jack the front of the car up using the front crossmember, and do not use the oil pan. Place jack stands on both sides on the lowest setting, and then place the jack under the diff to jack the back of the car up. This is how you should jack the back of the car up. This is the jacking point of the diff, and use something to protect the jacking point. I'm using a hockey puck made out of rubber, but that is just to protect the surface of the diff itself. I jacked the back of the car up and placed some jack stands on the back as well. Now I got the jack back in front, and I'm jacking the front of the car up a little bit higher. I'm going to put the jack stands a little bit higher as well, and do the same on the back, so the car is a little bit higher up in the air. You will be crawling underneath and drilling upwards, so give yourself enough room, but don't lift the car up too high. Now that the car is on all four jack stands, give the car a good shake to check if the car is not moving. Also, check every jack stand and check all the gaps and count them. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and do that with every jack stand to make sure the car is leveled. Take a good look at your chassis rails. There's a possibility that they are damaged. Mine are in pretty good shape, but if your chassis rails are a bit crushed, you need to massage the parts that are sticking out back into place so the frame rails will fit. You can use a big C-clamp or sledgehammer for that. Don't forget to add a coat of Underseal on the exposed metal so it's protected against rust. Do not use primer because primer is not made to be used as a top coat. The next step is to remove these two hardline brackets. It's just one 10mm bolt for each bracket. You can use some penetrating oil to make removing the bolts a little bit easier. Oh my god. That's one. And that's the second bolt. I'm now going to use a flathead screwdriver to pop the hard lines out of the plastic holder. Removing these brackets will make installing the frame rails a little bit easier. Now get the frame rail that has two holes in the side and slide it underneath the hard lines. I'm having some problems with this hardline bracket over here, so I'm going to remove that as well. As you can see, these holes allow the hardline brackets to be reinstalled. I'm going to use a jack to hold it in place. The frame rail should be positioned as far as possible to the front, but still sit flat on the floor surface. This alignment is critical. If you do not do this properly, the rearmost bolt will not have enough clearance for mounting. Get the drill and use a small metal drill bit to drill a pilot hole so we can make sure that the hole will clear the frame of the car. I'm using a small drill bit so that if the hole is in the wrong position, it's easier to close it off again. Alright, so the hole is over here. and this is the bolt and the washer. And as you can see, we have more than enough room for the bolt and washer to fit. So the fitment is on point. I'm now going to use this big metal drill bit to make the holes big enough so the bolt can fit through the hole. Make sure that the drill bit that you are using is slightly larger than the bolt. I'm going to use a size 8. To make sure that the frame rail is not moving while I'm drilling the other holes, I'm going to secure it with a nut and bolt. That's pretty easy. Just open the door, put the bolt through the hole. There we go. Get a wrench, put it on top, then get the bolt and twist it on there. And then get your socket wrench. And that's it. Don't forget to use some safety glasses to protect your eyes from the metal shavings. If you're going to drill this side, be careful with the hard lines. As you can see, I used a hockey puck to keep the hard lines out of the way. And that's it for the holes. Now that all the holes have been drilled, I'm going to remove the frame rail. Yes, I'm going to remove the frame rail because I want to take care of all the metal that is now exposed because of the drilling. First remove the jack and then the bolt. Before I'm going to add the protective coating, I'm going to use this drill bit to clean up the edges of the holes. I'm going to use a vacuum cleaner to remove all the metal shavings. Now it's time for the protective coating. I'm going to use some Hammerite black to cover the bare metal and prevent rust. I will do top and bottom just to make sure that every bit of bare metal is covered with a protective coating. Give the can a good shake and start spraying. I'm going to use the vacuum cleaner to clean the bottom side as well. Now we can add the undersealer, but before you do that, open the garage door. Alright, so I drilled all the holes on the driver's side as well, but I made a big mistake. I will show you what I did wrong later. First, I'm going to fix the rust that I found on the chassis rails. This step is not necessary, but it didn't feel right to mount those shiny new rails on a rusted surface. To remove the rust, I'm going to use this wire brush. When the rust is removed, I'm going to clean the surface and add a protective layer, just like I did with the holes I drilled. So everything is covered with 3 layers of coating. If you want, you can install the frame rails while the coating is still wet, but I'm going to let the coating dry overnight and continue this project tomorrow. Day 2 of the frame rail project, and let's start with the big mistake I made yesterday when I was drilling the holes on the driver's side. I assumed that this hole would be in the front of the seat mounting rail as well, just like on the other side. But it was a little bit further back, so the hole was underneath the seat mounting rail. So here's what happened. I was so fixated on the clearance of the back bolts that I did not check the overall alignment of the frame rail. As it turned out, I had a little bit more room in the front, so the frame rail can be placed a little bit more forward. This in turn will prevent you from drilling a hole underneath the seat mounting rail. I contacted Jass Performance and they confirmed this. If you position the frame rails as forward as possible, all the bolts should clear the frame. So I had 2 options. Skip the mounting point or cut a little piece out of the mounting rail as I did here. Now I can fit a bolt and washer through the hole. Not the best solution, but hey, it works. To keep you guys from making the same mistake as me, I'm going to show you where you should position the front of the frame rail. This is how I mounted the frame rail, and as you can see, I have a little bit of room left over here. On the NA you have a seam running right along here, and the frame rail should be positioned right on this seam. Let me show you what I mean. See? Like this. Don't make the same mistake as me, guys. Oh well. Let's continue installing the frame rails. It is recommended to apply some RTV or silicone sealant around the bolt holes in the frame rails. This ensures a watertight seal between the frame rails and the floor pan when you bolt it down. First clean the surface and then apply the silicone. The only difficult part is sliding this frame rail underneath the hard lines with the sealant already installed. But if it gets a bit messy, it doesn't matter. You won't be able to see this when the car is back on the ground. I'm going to remove this hardline bracket as well to make installing the frame rail a little bit easier. And as you can see, all the rust is gone and everything has a protective coating. Even the mounting points for the hardline brackets. Insert one bolt as a guide and slide the frame rail underneath the hard lines. Use the jack to keep it in place. Insert all the bolts with the big washers from the top. These short bolts should be used on the inside of the passenger rail. This is for the additional clearance regarding the hard lines. I'm going to add a little bit of grease to the bolts so they don't seize up. Use a 13mm wrench to keep the bolt in place, and then use your other hand with the nut and the washer to screw it in place. I'm going to use a hockey puck again to keep the hard lines out of the way so I can screw in the nut. I've added the jack because it was a bit hard to reach the bolts. All the nuts are on the bolts and now we can tighten them. Be careful because the stainless steel hardware is a little less stronger than regular bolts and nuts. You should tighten the nuts and bolts to 15 foot-pounds or 20 Newton meters. I'm going to use a torque wrench. That's one. Now that the frame rail is mounted, we can reinstall the hardline bracket. Jass provided some new stainless steel ones, so I'm going to use those. Remove the plastic holders from the old brackets and install them on the new one. You can do this by just twisting it and then you can pull it out. I'm going to clean them up a little bit and mount them on the brackets. This is the end result. Now we can reinstall them. Reinstallation is pretty easy. Just put this metal clip into the hole on the side here. And then reconnect all the hard lines. Alright. That's it. Another one. That's it. Last step is to insert the new bolts for the mounting brackets. And that's it for this side of the frame rail. Also, don't forget to reinstall this bracket and this bracket over here. Now that the passenger side is finished, we can mount the second frame rail. Installation will be the same as the first frame rail, but there are no hard lines on that side of the car, so it's even easier. Don't forget to add a coat of sealant before installing the second frame rail. Lower the car back to the ground and reinstall the ECU if you moved it out of the way. Put the carpet back into place, reinstall the seatbelt mounts, the footrest pedal, the plastic button and the floor mats. The next step is to reinstall the door seals, the seats and the steering wheel. And that's it, guys! I'm going to drive the car for a few days and then I will let you guys know what my experience is with the frame rails. It's been about a week and I was really wondering if I would notice a difference, but let me tell you, the minute I drove home I immediately did. When I went over a bump, the car would vibrate a lot less. It's like the suspension is absorbing the vibrations now instead of the chassis. Also, when I go around the corner, the car feels really solid. As soon as you turn the wheel, the whole car moves in that direction. Furthermore, the car seems to rattle a bit less, but I'm not sure about that. It still rattles, but a bit less. I think. Miata life. Unfortunately, the frame rails did not fix my 65 mph shimmy. The speed at which the car vibrates shifts a little bit, but the car still shakes a lot. So, the search for a solution continues. It surprised me that even with the additional sidewall, the Jass Performance frame rails were not heavier than the other frame rails. The mounting hardware was even lighter in comparison to the other mounting hardware, and that includes the hardline brackets. Installing these frame rails was a bit more work because of the many mounting points, but this increases the overall support strength. I've asked Jass Performance why they put one hole so close to the seat mounting rail, and they did that because they want an equal length between the holes. The frame rail is a bit shorter on the inner side, so that's why the hole on that side is closer to the seat mounting rail. Don't worry, if you get the placement right, you will have no problem installing these frame rails and you will have maximum support strength. I want to end this video with a couple of pointers. It's a good idea to install frame rails before lowering your car, as it protects your chassis rails. Make sure that the car stands firmly on all 4 jack stands, is leveled and does not move. Be safe, guys. Install the frame rails on the right spot to prevent mounting problems that I had. If your install involves a butterfly brace, make sure that you align the frame rails correctly. As I showed you guys, this job is doable on your own, but a helping hand would come in handy. Overall, I'm very happy with the end result and I can recommend these frame rails to any Miata driver out there. If you find this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. The tools and parts you'll need for this job are in the video description, as well as my social media links. If you haven't subscribed already, click on the MiataMods logo below and don't forget to turn on notifications. For more MiataMods videos, click here. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.